Well, let's see if I can get this to work in the sound too. So, I've read an interesting article the other day by somebody that really did a lot of work in the freedom movement. I like her, but it seems that she's had the spell cast over her of another division tactic, which is basically naming millennials and Gen X and um, Gen Z and boomers, and it seems to be the boomers against the millennials, and the boomers act this way, the millennials act that way. Is that not the same as racism? Is looking at a person, something that identifies them, and saying generally that that's the way that they act? Because I don't buy that, and I just think it's another way, it's another ism, right? And it's based on age and when you were born, and I don't think anything could be further from the truth. There are people that have integrity and are good people in whatever genre or whatever year that they were born, and conversely there's people that are morons that are born in certain, that aren't very nice. Morons, I shouldn't say that. That was my driving term when people did terrible things. Driving. It's basically ignorance, or as some call them, non-playing characters. That they're completely within this different world that us that tend to have awareness cannot understand. That doesn't make them bad people. It just makes them unaware people. And so I put a little comeback in her Substack, um, and let her know that these, we got to stop seeing people as separate. I was watching a really good thing last night about consciousness and awareness. We're all one. We really are. We're not the ego. We're not the voices in our head. We're not the things that say we're this, that, and the other thing. We're not our house. We're not our car. We're not our job. We're not any of those things. That's not who we are, right? We are the consciousness and the awareness. And I know that for some people that's hard to wrap yourself around, that there's an awareness, but there is. If you can just watch your thoughts and not get involved with them, just watch them come, as the Buddhists say, like clouds in a screen, and watch them go by. But that isn't who you are. You're not the clouds. You are the sky behind it. You are the awareness that is that. I'm not a boomer, though I'm born in that age group, right? I, I'm not a white person. I'm not a female, though I am down here. Behind all that, I am the awareness that runs the human suit, that sits in there and gives it actually light. Do you know that there's studies that have been done that have caught when the sperm and the egg come together and it creates a burst of light? Conversely, there's a gentleman that, and I'll get more information for these as I start to continue making videos, and I'll pick a subject per day if I can, to just expand on. And he takes pictures at people as they're dying. And the same thing happens. There is an exchange of light. There is this burst of light. So you see, we live in an ideology right now in healthcare, especially in westernized countries, and this has been a steady progression, of thinking as the person is only the meat suit, only this human suit, and that it's like a machine, and thusly you treat it like that. And that when you're dead, you're dead. There's no connection. Hence why people are terrified of death, because they think it's the end of who they are. But there are so much evidence with near-death experience that that's not true. And there's many that believe that we live in a simulation, and I'm one of them. And that when we die, we don't actually leave. We're still in some form of AI simulation. That there's technology that far outweighs anything we know. And really, we have to come down to the fact that we know nothing. We've been trained to believe and programmed to believe things that are not true. That's that whole ego part, is these programs that play out 95% of the time and dictate and control our behavior, that makes people divide on age brackets, where age, again, is a human construct. We construct, I remember years ago, a friend of mine, God rest her, I grew up with her. We were sitting up at my place, up in the bush where I was, at a fire, and I spoke about the construction of linguistics, of language. That it's just a agreed upon symbols. It wasn't God brought it down, or whoever, the creator. They're just communication tools. They're symbols. But they are just that. We really don't have a name for some of the things that we see. We really don't. We actually don't even know what we're looking at, because it's us that creates this pattern of information. Comes in through the eyes, the ears, the senses, the five senses, because we're a five sense being. I think we have way more senses that are dormant. And then we create a pattern or a picture in our mind's eye, right? But it's not necessarily what's out there, and there's much to do with about the energy flow or the emotional feelings that go along with the imagery that come in, create what we make. And if my daughter the other day, and I've talked to her about this forever, right? But she now sees it. Somebody else told her on YouTube, I think it was a video, and that's okay as long as she sees it. That we are the creative force. How you greet the day dictates how your day will be. And we can't, yes, there's all this stuff going on, this chaos, but that's there to get the eye's attention over to that and keep you in this fear-based thinking with crisis after crisis after crisis. It's a plan, it's socially engineered. And when you're in fear, in that fear response, the fight or flight response, because that's what fear is, meant to come on, right? Get away from the fearful situation, right? Or fight the fearful, whatever it is, and then shut down again. But these constant fear keeps you in constant fight or flight, which keeps you in the subconscious mind. It keeps you out of the critical thinking mind, right? So thusly you can't see what's going on. So I hope that in the new year that we are in, 2025, just as my daughter has seen, we are co-creators of this world, that we co-create to make the world that we want to see, a peaceful world, or harmonious world, where people are working together for the betterment of mankind, not this competitiveness. I also read something, I shared it. It's very, if you see something good, if you admire something about a human being, another person, tell them. Tell them that you do. Because we seem to have a program put in us that tells us we're not enough, we're not good enough, that runs in the mind. And it has to be authentic. It's not, don't make it up to be virtuous or this virtue signaling. That's totally not what this is, right? It's seeing what you actually feel in your heart about another person and telling them. And you watch them flower, right? That isn't that what we want to see? But we've become so competitive with the next guy, we don't want to do that because they may get ahead of us. That's ridiculous, right? We should celebrate the successes of other people, because the successes of other people are us, as we are one consciousness having unique experience. And that plays in directly with our health, is who we see ourselves to be. Who do we know thyself? Who do we see ourselves? And what are we? These are questions to ponder in here, because everything we're looking for is in here. You won't find it in the externalized world. You won't find peace out there. You won't find happiness out there. You will not find the things that you are seeking. The things that you are seeking are inside you. And this is not something that I read in a book. I read it in a book. I've watched things on it. But I've lived it and experienced it. So don't break each other down to some label. The labels, look at the other person and say, that's me. That's my awareness. We all have that same awareness. And you know what? We're all striving for the same thing. We want happiness and peace. Most of all, I hear from people, I just want a simple life, right? Simple life now costs a lot of money. And we need to make a stand. And I implore people, my age, make a stand. Say something so that your grandchildren say, my grandparents stood up for me. They didn't let my government take over in this AI technological totalitarian world that they are creating around us, right? We need to take these, I'm not saying these technologies are neither bad nor good. It's what they're being used for. Right now, these technologies are being used as a control mechanism to control mankind because we're so freaking powerful. We are powerful. If we see our true divine nature, right? And that we don't die. Only this dies. Yeah, the suit dies, right? But you can take really good care of your human suit so that you have a good life. You know, get rid of the plastics as much as you can. For God's sakes, don't heat them up. Don't use a microwave, right? Don't use fluoride toothpaste. Watch your personal. I watched another really good one today, a little video that an entrepreneur has made, and I like it. We should all be entrepreneurs and be truth-sayers about the amount of products, just personal care, men and women, that are owned by 3 companies, corporations, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. These guys are corporate parasite predators, global predators. And these things are not good for you. And he outlined the ones that were really bad that he saw, shampoos, deodorants, and stuff like that. There are a small amount. So go for these small little outlets, not the corporate giants, because basically we're feeding the people that are trying to lead to our demise for some reason. Like, whatever. Well, they believe in this. It's an ideology. It's Malthusianism, right? That they believe that the world is overpopulated and that they are the arbiters of who gets to live, and they believe by the rights that because they're rich, because they're unethical and they're evil, right? And that they glean power from an energy source that is of not for the betterment of mankind. They believe that they get to call the shots about who lives and who dies. And so we need to take that power back, because the power really is in us. Way more of us. 8 million, few thousand of those, right, that truly know the agenda, what's going on. So really it starts with awareness. This awareness and coming out of, that's all what self-sabotage is about, is learning about these programs that are put in our subconscious mind that dictate how we behave and what we do and how we buy and consumerism, yada, 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 and how we contribute to our own downfall, right? Our own suicide, really, if we continue to follow this path that we're on, right? So it's up to us. Number 1, health. That's the base foundation for everything else. And understanding how this wonderful vessel works and have it work so that we thrive and that we co-create the world that we want to see. That only happens when you go inside and know thyself. And when you poison yourself, you weaken yourself. And poisons are everywhere, right? It's not perfection, it's just progress of cutting out the poisons out of your life. Okay, take care. And basically this is a test for my new system. I hope it works. Take care.